Hello and welcome to an overview of Chapter 13 in Stukin's Digital Marketing Essentials. Today we're going to go over creating a digital marketing strategy. Now, as we begin this kind of the world of digital marketing strategies here, just want to go back to this slide. Just know, this is really a culmination of all of the chapters that have come before this. This is going to include mentions of a lot of different digital marketing channels and smaller strategies that work together to create a larger digital marketing strategy that essentially you can apply to a business. So we're going to look at essentially a couple things here. One, how does a digital marketing strategy relate to a broader marketing strategy? Um, Looking at the importance of demand generation, harvesting, and how to manage customer relationships. Then we're going to also look at identifying the allocation of marketing resources, which is going to be the is part of a discussion assignment. And then also, what is kind of the long-term budgeting that you should do for digital marketing? This is looking at the money side of this. The financial side is a new element that I've added this time, and it's a new one for this textbook as well. I think it's very interesting, just as one who's gone through it a couple of times, but it's also something that most students don't think about. Students think about posting to social media, sending emails, running ads. But when you think about if you're running a business, there are costs associated with some of those, not all of them. Um, but what are those costs and how do you optimize them so that you are minimizing expenses while also getting the best return? So, what is a digital strategy? Just to start, just a level set here. This is the level of strategic decisions underneath the overarching marketing strategy. So, it means different things to different people. I will say that. For me, I think digital marketing is just marketing at this point. But the way that the textbook will situate this, and I do somewhat agree with this, is that shown on the left, you have the business strategy that the CEO looks at. They have the vision for the company. Then underneath that, you have your lead marketing person. So it might be a CMO, a vice president of marketing. They oversee the marketing strategy. From there, there's somebody who manages all of the digital marketing. Sometimes it's a director of digital marketing. Sometimes it's something else. There's a lot of different titles out there. They manage the digital strategy. Now, if you're wondering, okay, if there's a digital strategy and a marketing strategy, what else is there? There's other strategies that go into marketing strategy. There's branding, positioning. I believe public relations falls under there. Um, but then also you think about there's other elements. There's print media. There's everything that all of the marketing that you think about that you see every day that we have briefly discussed in throughout this textbook and throughout this course, where there are ways to communicate with people outside of the internet. That all works together with the digital strategy to form marketing strategy. Then under there is the actual execution. I will say the two elements on the right are often confused and often those worlds are intertwined. And why? Because smaller businesses usually rely on one person to do both the digital strategy and the digital execution. I can speak from experience myself. There was a point in time where I was just a director of marketing, but I was also in charge of executing probably 50% of the digital marketing. And I had people that reported to me, but at the same time, the execution also kind of fell on me. So today, I think in this world where digital marketing is just kind of assumed as a standard marketing procedure, it's that doesn't happen as often, but it will sometimes. For example, as a business is growing, if you're the first marketing person they hire, you have to do all three of those things: marketing strategy, digital strategy, and any execution. If you're the second marketing hire, it's probably the digital strategy and the digital execution, maybe something else. There's all sorts of things that go into A lot of different variations and permutations that this can have. Now, when we're looking at any kind of strategy, you want to make sure that you have a framework, right? You need to have an outline. What is the process that you're going to follow? I purposely omitted chapter 3 of the content marketing textbook because I knew this was coming. But in chapter 3 of the content marketing textbook, we look at the AIDA funnel, which is this. Now, I know the AIDA funnel has been mentioned at other times throughout the semester, but I wanted to save it really for now because I do actually like how this chapter digs in to the AIDA funnel as a framework for a digital marketing strategy. Now, you can see it's fairly general. It's not that specific, right? You have attention. Just to recap, attention includes everybody that has ever heard of your brand. Anybody. It's massive. For a company like Coca-Cola, it's billions. Interest, on the other hand, is where you can tangibly tell who has an interest in doing business with you. Um, in digital marketing and in content marketing, generally, interest is marked by having somebody from the attention stage sharing their information. That means they either are following you, they subscribe to an email newsletter, they sign up for a demo, there's some sort of tangible sign that there's interest. Now, the desire step is a little bit more ambiguous. You have probably seen funnels like this that only have 3 steps, where interest and desire are combined, whatever. In the AIDA funnel, I like to use it because, especially in digital marketing and e-commerce, desire is essentially where you put something into your shopping cart, but you haven't checked out yet. There is a sign that you want the product, or on a B2B side, maybe you go through the demo, right? You haven't bought it yet, though. You're almost there. You like what you see, right? You are almost at the point you have shown more than interest. You have now shown a true want for the product or the service. With online marketing, desire, I think, is a pretty important step because there's a lot of people that drop off at this stage. And the easy way to understand it for students is think about how many times you've abandoned your shopping cart on a website, or how many times you've clicked through an ad, you look at a product, you're like, yes, I do want this. But then you just, for whatever reason, you don't finish it. You don't complete the purchase. That happens a lot. And for businesses and for us as marketers, that's an easy, low-hanging fruit per se that we can go after and try to help them complete the funnel, become a customer. You look at sales strategy too. The easiest people to convert are the people that have shown interest before. For whatever reason, they haven't taken that last step. And that is the action step. That is when they actually become a customer. It's when you make a purchase online, you say, yes, I do want to do business with you. That's the process of becoming a customer. Now, there is a 5th step called loyalty that we won't talk about here, but that's essentially the step of going back through the funnel. I believe there's a slide about that. Now, if you look next to the funnel, you will see demand generation, demand harvesting, and loyalty building. Demand generation is the process of essentially, getting people to actually want your product. If you're the ability to create demand, that's like inbound marketing. That is also a lot of content marketing, where you can pull somebody in through whatever means, various marketing channels, and they are like, oh, I do need this, right? A lot of times, the most powerful businesses are not the ones that can just sell something. It's the people who can create a demand, can show people that they needed something that they didn't realize they needed before. That is, I'm trying to think of a quick example of that, but I keep going back to essentially the smartphone. There was never a time in the 1990s where people were clamoring for a phone that also was their gateway to the world. At no point was there this movement of people saying, hey, I need my phone to also be my computer. That was not a thing. There might have been some pioneers and visionaries back then who thought that, who talked about it. But that was not a clear demand. It was not until, I mean, just to be clear, there were smartphones before the iPhone, but in the early 2000s, mid 2000s, when we started introducing full keyboards onto cell phones and then eventually the internet through cell service, not wireless, just your phone cell service also worked as access to the internet. Those were pretty wild times, and people were like, "Oh, I do like this." But it wasn't really until the iPhone where people realize, "Oh, I need this. I need the world at my fingertips." Again, it had been discussed. It had been maybe it had been prophesized by somebody in the past, and I'm sure you could find a TikTok that shows somebody saying, "Oh no, we've needed this for 100 years." But in terms of a true market demand where everybody wants it, and there were segments of audience that had a demand for this, that did not exist until the iPhone. Now, if you move down from demand generation to demand harvesting, that is how you essentially nurture leads. It's where you take someone who has shown interest or desire, and you get them to take that final step and become a customer. That one's pretty simple. Loyalty building is then where you have your existing customers and you get them to either purchase again or to become these ambassadors, advocates for your brand so that they can then go out and spread the good word of mouth marketing. That's the best, referrals, whatever, what have you, to help build the brand even more. Now, if you look at the digital marketing channels on the side, you have SEO and essentially search are the two big things that help to generate demand. I would also say social media ads go into demand generation. You won't be there is, this is where me and the chapter kind of disagree. Digital marketing channels do not exactly line up to this. A little bit, but not exactly. This is not something I would ever test somebody on, but you can see roughly how they line up in terms of demand generation, demand harvesting, and loyalty building. Um, but I do want to keep moving here. So, how do we apply the framework, right? What does this mean? You know what all of this is. Now, what do you do? One, you need to prioritize your marketing efforts and decide, okay, what do we do here? The way that I look at marketing, digital marketing in particular, is that all of your digital marketing activities should have a step of the AIDA funnel where they want this marketing activity to send people. Example, say you are going to run search ads, paid search, right? Nope, most of the time people will not be here yet. You want to get people into this. You really want to get people into here. So paid search is going to be all about, hey, I want to move people. I want to generate demand and get them at least into the interest stage. Your end goal may be, hey, I want people to sign up for something, or I want people to create an account or subscribe to my email newsletter, whatever. That is the interest stage. If you don't have a goal for your marketing efforts, then what are you doing? What are you trying to do? If all of your marketing efforts only succeed with with a sale, then it's not really going to work as a strategy. Then you're just trying to sell stuff. In reality, you need a couple marketing actions that'll get people into an attention or interest, and then desire, and then finally go for the kill with the action. That is how we produce customers. Demand generation, the content that goes into attention and interest. People are being introduced to the brand or they're being reintroduced to the brand in terms of like what this is. That's really where all of the content marketing has come into play. It's information based. You need to create value for people and show them that your brand is authentic, is a leader in your industry, and is trustworthy more so than anything else. I look at demand generation as being really critical because it's the first impression that people usually have of the brand. Unless you work for one of these giant businesses that everybody already knows about, That's different. That's demand harvesting. But most of the time, most of us are going to work in a marketing environment where we're going to be dealing with an audience that doesn't know who we are. And we need to ensure that that first impression is good. Not only that, but we need to ensure that we're providing them with the right information. A classic mismatch between audience and content is something that ends up being very expensive and very costly, and we want to avoid that. For example, if your business is in sells let's come up with an example. You sell nostalgic t-shirts. You can probably picture what that audience looks like. But if your ad is suddenly being shown to baby boomers, that's probably not the right audience for this. And it's probably going to fall on deaf ears, and it's probably going to be pretty expensive along the way because as people look at ads or even click through, um, it's just not going to end well, right? You're not going to get conversions or customers from it. Now, when we look at demand harvesting, that is where people already know about the brand and you're removing the barriers to make them a customer. Um, the other example that I have here is actually the Apple Watch. So when it was first released, the demand for tech wearables was almost nothing. Nobody was wearing a smartwatch. Um, but what did Apple do? They had to go in and they had to, again, create demand. They had to show somebody they had to show an audience that, hey, you can have the world not just on your phone, but also on your wrist. And it was not about having to necessarily show people why Apple Watches were great, but it had to show that smartwatches in general were a good investment. Now, if you fast forward a couple of years, there's other competitors out there. Now it's about showing that Apple is the superior brand. Um, Most of the time, Apple can also go back and show it like, hey, like this was first to the market, whatever, what have you. Um, but at the at the dawn of the Apple Watch craze, it was about demand generation. Now they have done that, and it's now about demand harvesting. When we talk about creating customer loyalty, um, this one's pretty basic. You just want to make sure that you have the best customer service out there. Um, and also it's usually not too expensive. The idea behind loyalty building, though, it does need to be part of your strategy where you can take existing customers, turn them into brand advocates, and to help them share the good word. This is really big in smaller businesses. I, for one, am a consultant. I have my own business, and what I like to do is work with existing or even former customers and try to help get referrals from them. Most of my business comes from referrals. Word of mouth is the number one marketing strategy that I use. And how do I do it? I have to go back and spend time communicating with customers, communicating with even people that might not have hired me, but worked with me and were almost there, like, hey, we'd like to do this, but we don't have the budget, blah, 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 what have you. It's about engaging and mobilizing people that you've worked with in the past so that you know the best sales strategy is not to have a customer hear it from you, have a potential customer hear it from you, but to have them hear it from a trusted ally instead, trusted resource. That is what referral and that's how loyalty building happens. Um, the other thing with loyalty, you want to think about, especially in a B2C spot, if you're trying to get repeat customers, you want to make sure that people how much are people buying? How often are they doing it? How how much money are they spending with you? Not not all customers are created equally. If you have somebody coming back to your site every week and buying $100 worth of stuff, that's going to be a little bit more impressive than somebody who just comes once ever and buys $1,000 worth of stuff, right? It's about being able to pinpoint those potential brand advocates and putting them into your loyalty building strategy. Um, Now I'm not sure. I mean, this kind of goes back to what I was talking about earlier, where marketing campaigns need to really focus on a step of the AIDA funnel that they are trying to move people to. Um, I thought this slide was a little bit earlier, but hey, um, when we think about marketing efforts and you think about all the different channels that you use, really, this is a good way to understand if you're wasting any money. So if you are running both social media ads and search ads, you want to be able to go back and look and see, okay, cost per click is low, conversions are good, whatever. Then go back and see like what are those conversions? Are people making purchases from both? Um, are what are the other measurables that are coming out of this? Am I getting new followers from my social media ads? Am I getting more engagements? And is it actually leading to traffic on my website? You want to have a good idea, if you can, especially in the e-commerce world, how much revenue is each channel producing? And that only really works on the advertising side. But you want to look and see, make sure that they're both worthwhile efforts. If you're spending $1,000 a month on both paid search and paid social, but paid search is bringing in $3,000 in revenue per month, and paid social is only bringing in 500, there is a clear winner there in terms of advertising. You know that your marketing effort from the paid search side is exponentially more successful and profit generating than your social media advertising side. Now, this comes back to resource allocation. When I think of actually looking at the digital marketing channels, you want to look at the broader strategy. Not every company is going to engage in all six of these digital marketing channels that you see on the right side. For a lot of businesses, they don't invest in SEO at all. A lot of companies don't even run ads. Email marketing, I think, is pretty broad-based at this point, but a lot of businesses don't even have a real strategy around it because it takes some forethought, time, planning. Whereas social media posting, organic social, everybody does it, but a lot of businesses don't really allocate many resources to it. Instead of actually having a strategy around social media and an idea of like where they need to be, where it falls into the AIDA funnel, people are just saying, hey, as long as we're posting and it looks good, it keeps our brand, right? There needs to be a clear placement for organic social media in the broader sense of your marketing. And then I do want to spend a couple of minutes here on cost efficiency and how money is being spent. You don't need to know necessarily all of these different things. If I can boil this down into one thing, this is how you figure out ROI, right? That is your ROI is how much money am I actually making compared to how much money I'm spending. So in return on ad spend, that's the easiest thing to understand, where it's like, all right, how much money are you spending on ads? How much money are these ads providing back to you in terms of revenue? Um, but the way that I look at it too is that um, this can be looked at a couple different ways. It's not just um, in advertising that you look at return on ad spend or you look at ROI, but you can also look at it for your other marketing activities. For example, email marketing, one of the cheapest things to do, as you'll see in the next slide. However, a lot of companies don't do much with it because they don't understand where it fits in their data funnel. They don't know where it fits in their strategy. But I bet if every business knew how to really work email marketing, they would do it a lot more often because they realize it can have a much higher ROI. For example, average email marketing program costs about $50 a month, and maybe $100. It depends on how many people you have, how many subscribers you have. But there was a report I saw that showed the ROI was as high as $45 of profit for every $1 of expense. That's insane. That is a huge, huge ROI. I think I put that in my own in the content marketing email marketing chapter. So it's got by far the highest ROI of all your marketing activities. Um, but you need to figure out how to get there to begin with, and that's where the AIDA funnel comes in handy. So let's look at the email. Let's look at the cost efficiencies for various channels. This is going to be important to know. One, email marketing and display advertising are some of the cheapest in terms of cost. Display advertising is largely run on impressions and they just don't work. But at the same time, email marketing is very low because you're just sending out emails. It's not a huge deal. Your cost is largely in the subscription for, say, a MailChimp or um, whatever platform you're using. Not to mention, it can be a little expensive if you're running a customer relationship management program, but database, but that's for another time. Now, if you look at these other topics, right? Social media postings, that cost and SEO can vary. On one side, they could be extremely low if you just have somebody in-house that just does it as part of their bigger job. It can also be pretty high if you were to outsource that and have somebody who comes in for a couple grand a month to optimize your website, optimize your content, or post on social media. Then at that point, how do you measure its success, right? How is it that you can measure that? It can be pretty challenging to measure that, but a lot of times you got to go into your analytics, look at, okay, how much traffic is coming from search? How much traffic is coming from organic social media? Okay, what is that then leading to in terms of new customers or new leads? Then you can assign dollar values to those and then figure out what the true return is. Then we have advertising, of course. That's going to be your most expensive. But it can also be effective if you know what you're doing and if you have it properly aligned in your digital marketing strategy. Now, this is not something that I really am going to go too far into because these are very specific and niche topics, but just in case you're interested in knowing, the one I like to talk about here is affiliate marketing. Um, Affiliate marketing can be extremely successful, but it takes a lot of work leading up to it. And that's the one thing that I think is missing here is the legwork that goes into any of this. Affiliate marketing in particular, I mean, you need to have tens, hundreds of thousands of visitors. You need to have a pre-built community in order to get any sort of exposure and then especially to get any sort of see any ROI. Um, However, if you can do that, affiliate marketing can be pretty successful. NerdWallet is the big example. That is an affiliate marketing website that started as a way to compare the perks of different credit cards. Now they have all these different referral programs for all these different personal finance topics like mortgages and well, credit cards, but then also loans, student loans, personal loans, anything that deals with finances you can find on NerdWallet, and they get a commission when you click through one of their articles or their top 10 lists and sign up for whatever the third party is trying to sell you. NerdWallet's been around since 2012. It's been 12 years. It took them 2 or 3 years to make any money on their website. It took a long time. And a lot of times I think today, um, first time entrepreneurs think, oh, I can just do affiliate marketing and make money immediately. It can take a long time because you need to build that authority, build that trust, build thought leadership, and you need to build a community of engaged users, most likely through email marketing. Now, here's a quick scenario. Let's say you have 5,000 email addresses, those are subscribers, and you are, and your budget is $100 per month. You have a free MailChimp account, although 2,000 email addresses is not free, but whatever. Let's just say it is free, and you've sent five email blasts to over 5 email blasts per month, and they're only sent to the 2,000 best customers, right? Let's say it leads to, let's say you have these numbers, right? Pretty strong open rate. You have a pretty good click rate. Let's say you're getting 600 website visits, a really high conversion rate, and that conversion is a sale. 60 conversions, 10%, 10% of 600, that leads to $1,500 or $1,600 in revenue. You minus the $100 per month, you're looking at $1,500 in profit per month. Huge. Great. But now let's take the next step. Let's say you have a new budget of $10,000 per month, right? You have a new system. Great. You can send emails to all 5,000 people. And that's right. I think 2,000 is the limit for MailChimp. But anyways, you can send 2 emails every single day. So you're going to just start inundating them with stuff, right? You can get 10,000 more emails. You're going to get a lower open rate and a lower click rate just because you're sending so much stuff. But you're getting way more website visits, 24,000 website visits, and even at a conversion rate of 3%, right? Way lower than your highly concentrated audience from before, still leads to 720 conversions, right? You can look at that as leading to what is that? $28,000 in revenue. Hmm? And that leads to a total profit, right? Of $18,000 a month. So you had $28,000 in actual sales, but you subtract that $10,000 from your new software and you have a huge profit, right? I understand that this can be a little confusing. It might be a little much, but the idea here is to optimize your spend. In the previous example, all we did was take a basic email marketing situation for a small business and found, okay, hey, email's leading to a couple $1,000s in sales per month. That's great. We're seeing a profit. How do we now grow from there? That is kind of the steps that go into, okay, let's invest more money in our email marketing. We are going to see, yes, we're going to see lower measurables in terms of open rate, click rate, and conversion rate. But when we have so many more users and so many more subscribers, thanks to these increased capabilities, we are seeing a massively scaled, marked improvement in the actual dollars coming into the business. Now, this example, this is, we're down to the last couple of slides here. Nobody likes looking at economics and costs, but I'm going to here. Let's take a look at we're just looking at these. This is general and theoretical, right? You have your return on your investment up here, and then you have how much you're investing on this axis here. So, for example, email marketing, number one, you're going to see your most investment when you're not kind of like at the beginning, like we saw in terms of actual like return. That doesn't mean the actual dollars aren't going to change, right? We saw dollars went way up, but we did see it was not quite. We sent 2 emails a day. Like, we got a ton of website visits. The marginal return was, in terms of percentages, was a little bit less. But anyways, this is, email marketing is as time goes on and as you spend more money, right? You invest more on email, it's eventually going to go down a little bit, which is fine. As you can see with every single one of these, the more you invest in them, the more they're eventually all just going to kind of converge and be similar. But for a lot of us, we're only ever in this first spot, right? If I first start doing email marketing, the very first thing, first couple of months, I'm going to feel really good about it in terms of my payoff. But as years go on and I invest more and more and more, that's going to eventually normalize. It's going to be similar to these other channels. You look at some of these, most of these follow a pretty similar trajectory, just not quite as sharp. Display advertising for whatever reason remains the closest to being even, but I'm not a huge fan of that to begin with. Um, but if you look at SEO in particular, that's the one over here. This is the interesting one because at first nothing's going to happen. You can do all the SEO you want, and over the first couple of weeks or even months, you're not going to see much. You might see nothing. But as time goes on and your website gains more authority and your content begins to rank a little bit higher, it drives more traffic, it's putting more people into that attention stage of the AIDA funnel. You're going to be able to see a greater return on your investment. But again, no matter how much you put into it, it will eventually come down to a level, maybe not, might be a little bit higher than the others, but in no world is it just going to take off exponentially. That's the thing with digital marketing strategy is that there's not a silver bullet that just is the answer to everything. You need to realize that how your various digital marketing channels are going to start off, but also understand, okay, where do we want to invest our dollars? You want to be more strategic about what exactly you're going to put money into. Um, in terms of obstacles, obviously these are all going to change, and then there's limited investment levels. What does that mean? Um, you're only going to be able to spend so much money on so many different things. And what I mean by that is like SEO is probably the most, well, obviously advertising is the most expensive because you're spending the most money. SEO can be the most expensive over time because the higher level of search engine optimization you're going for, the more expensive these agencies are going to be in order for that to happen. On the other hand, there's a lot of cross-channel interactions. Email marketing doesn't like really work by itself. Like you still need to get subscribers. How do you get subscribers? SEO, paid search, social media ads, organic social media, and display it. Like all those different channels are necessary in order for email marketing to be effective. Also, when you're even launching a strategy to begin with, you don't usually don't have a lot of money. And you just got to focus on one or two. And you usually aren't going to spend when you're implementing a strategy, you're not going to spend your money on ads. You're not going to spend your money on SEO because you don't have the larger, costs for that, larger budget. So you need to think about where to start and how to build it. And I'm going to skip this one, but when we go back to this for one bit, kind of to wrap up this section, and I know this is getting to be quite a long video. The idea when you're looking at this is just to understand what kind of channels you should consider when you're just starting out, and what kind of channels do you want to utilize long term as you can spend more money. I will say, I don't think many businesses get to this level where all of them converge and become the same amount, have the same payoff. I just don't think there's many businesses that exist in this space. On the other hand, I think most of us live in this first third of the chart here, where some of them are becoming similar, but at the same time, social posting on social media organically is never going to be super effective in terms of ROI. And at display advertising, never going to have the same, rarely will it have the same effectiveness of some of these other channels. It really is on you as somebody who's, a part of a smaller business or a growing, scaling business to determine where can we put our marketing dollars to get the best return. This is a good chart in terms of the beginning. I don't think you need to worry about what happens long term, but just think about it this up front. But don't just think about up front. If you started, for example, I started my business in 2018. I got a MailChimp account. I set up a really lovely email marketing automation setup. But I didn't get any business from it because I had no subscribers. I had to get subscribers. How did I get subscribers? Well, I spent a lot of time optimizing my website for traffic. I started getting traffic from search, though some of those users became email subscribers, and eventually I saw some really nice payoff from email marketing. Um, that was, it's like kind of the chicken and the egg thing. You need to have a starting point, figure out what your goals are. And then also, if we go back to the AIDA funnel, how do you get people into the attention stage, then the interest stage, then demand, and then action? Um, that pretty much wraps up this discussion, and it's probably the most intense and the most businessy topic that we've talked about yet. But it's really important when you're thinking about a business as a whole. In digital marketing, the only way that you're going to be able to move up in a company is if you understand the actions that your job and your role has on the broader marketing and business strategy. Just showing people that you have a video that got 100,000 views or 100,000 likes is not enough anymore. You need to show how that turned into new business, how that helped the company. You can do that. That makes you truly invaluable and will set you apart from the rest of the um, entry-level digital marketers that are out there. That's all I have for today. As always, feel free to comment or leave me a note if you have any questions.